What if you had the smartest Wi-Fi? If you did, it'd be Xfinity and it'd come with their best state-of-the-art equipment. It would boost speeds to the devices that needed them most, whether you were streaming, gaming, or gaming while pretending to work. It would even power your mobile connection so you could bring faster, secure Wi-Fi speeds with you where you use it most. If you had the smartest Wi-Fi, everything would work together seamlessly to keep you connected. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Jayhawker podcast. My name is Nate Bukaty. As always, we want to start off by thanking our amazing sponsors, the University of Kansas Health Systems, and of course, Xfinity. Get the nation's smartest Wi-Fi only from Xfinity. Imagine that. This is another one of those interviews. I feel like I say this every week, but I've been particularly excited about this one for a few different reasons. It touches on a sport that is very near and dear to my heart, something I'm really passionate about, but also a relationship that goes back 20 years?
20 years.
20 years back when I was working as play-by-play announcer for Kansas women's basketball, sideline reporter for football. This man was my boss. He was you were the GM of Jayhawk Sports Marketing.
Yeah.
Did I get that title
Overseeing
right?
Corporate sponsorships, radio network, all that stuff.
Yeah. Jason Booker is our guest. He is now Deputy Athletics Director, External Affairs, and Revenue Generating for the University of Kansas, for the Kansas Athletics Department. And soccer is one of the sports that's under his umbrella here as well. So he's been very involved in this whole process. Big news that you've heard here recently about Algeria, the national team, base camping in Lawrence for the World Cup. So we've got a lot of things to cover. We've got a lot of history between the two of us, so we'll have a lot of fun too. So first of all, Booker, thanks for joining me, man. How are you?
Doing great, but I've never let people call me their boss. You know, you always say that, and it always bothers me. But everybody's always got to have a team leader, right?
Yeah,
and so somebody that helps at least keep things moving forward. So.
Well, I like to call you my boss because it's more fun to say it that way. But we had a lot of fun memories because we went to Orange Bowls together. I remember hiking Camelback Mountain with you on New Year's Day, the day that KU won the Insight Bowl against Minnesota, national championships, all kinds of fun things. You then went to Kansas City after that, and you walked right out of winning a national title in Orange Bowl here to winning a World Series in Kansas City. Did you go to back-to-back World Series? Was that?
Back-to-back, yeah.
Back-to-back right off the bat.
I became the smartest sales guy in Major League Baseball. It was good timing.
Timing's everything. But winning seemed to follow you everywhere. And now you're how long have you been back at Kansas in this capacity?
Back in this capacity, July of 2021. So Travis gets hired 3 or 4 months after his hiring, kind of came in to join his leadership team.
And you told him, listen, you bring me in, you win titles, and you get another national title right
My resume is pretty simple. I don't even have to put anything down. It's just show up and win. But I get a lot of flack for that around here. But,
hey, yeah. It's in some people are just winners, you know. But we've got so much to talk about through all this stuff. I want to get to the revenue part because that's one of the biggest things in college athletics these days. But the reason I reached out to you was because this big news. Algeria is going to be base camping in Lawrence, Kansas, one of 4 teams in this Kansas City area that will be based here during the World Cup. And I know when you did a news conference the other day, you mentioned 2 years of work, but it kind of goes deeper than that, doesn't it? Because even back to that time when you were in Kansas City, you were on the Kansas City Sports Commission board. And you were involved with the bid to actually bring the World Cup to Kansas City. Tell us about that process a little bit.
Yeah, so I started on the Sports Commission board back when I was at the Royals in 2016, and I tell Kathy Nelson that every year it seems like I just keep added a year on. So now I'm 10 years in, and I was fortunate enough to get to chair the board 3 years ago, obviously when we hosted the draft, and was on the board when World Cup was getting presented and how would this impact our city. And obviously Kathy Nelson's, maybe the best seller in the city, right, for what she represents and how she represents this place and everything to do with sports. But the board was there to kind of help support her. I would say we didn't do much, right? We're just there to help share ideas or things that we can do. But pretty impactful time, with World Cup, NFL draft, and all the things that are happening in the city. And we always say that we tend to punch above our weight in Kansas City, right? We always rise to the occasion. You look at Royals parades, Chiefs parades, national championships. It's the city of champions, and we're excited to kind of have that on display and show also what the University of Kansas, Kansas Athletics, and the Lawrence community how they can be a part of that.
You've always been a bit of a soccer fan too. I knew that from back when we first met. We would talk about our teams and all those things. But when you get on the board and look, the NFL draft is a big undertaking. That's a big moment, but that's tiny compared to the magnitude of a World Cup coming to Kansas City. When you guys started the process of trying to get that bid, I'm just curious, like, in your mind, were you thinking this is far-fetched? This is something we can really do in Kansas City? What was your mindset like as you guys were going through the process of trying to get FIFA's attention that Kansas City is a legitimate place to put the World Cup?
Great question. I think we always thought it was a possibility, but we knew we had to probably work harder than most to get it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's kind of the makeup of our city and our region, right? A little more blue collar, a little roll up our sleeves and just go do the work. And I think showing that we can host events like an NFL draft or, NCAA championships. Look at all the championships that are hosted in Kansas City. Just last year, we had the soccer Final Four, volleyball Final Four. We've hosted, men's regionals. So we were used to hosting events, but it was really trying to sell that vision of, no, we can actually pull this off, and obviously partnership with Arrowhead and Clark Hunt and group in that leadership world that really helped kind of round that out to show that we have the chops to pull it off.
When did the idea, because I remember when I started talking to people about base camp, it made sense. Sporting Kansas City would have a team there. The KC Chrome would have a team there. I don't remember the specific moment that I heard that Rock Chalk Park could be a destination, but as soon as I did, I thought, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. When did that idea that this could even be one of the venues start to become a thing?
Well, it actually predates my time at Kansas Athletics. Wow. So when I walked in 2021, I remember talking to Sean Lester, and I got a call like a couple weeks in about World Cup, and I was like, all right, tell me what's going on with World Cup. Well, you have to do a bunch of pre-work, right, of like if we were to get games in Kansas City and if we were to host teams. That's how long ago, this process started. And so there was a FIFA kind of master agreement that was like, hey, if we get World Cup in our area, would you be interested in hosting a base camp? So it actually goes back to, I think, 2020, 2021 range of when that idea was floated. And then when I got here, and it kind of made sense to your point, I mean, we've got great facilities. We know that Lawrence would be great at hosting a country. If you think of all the resources that a campus and a university has, translators, international flavor, right? If you look at some of the restaurants and things on Mass Street, we identify and appeal, I think, to a lot of different audiences and demographics. That was very apparent when we had teams come and visit to look at Rock Chalk Park for a base camp. I remember now we can be a little more open, but obviously England came to look at Kansas City and the areas, and they toured all the base camps, and you could kind of see the look on their face like, this is college soccer? Like, they don't, it's not really a thing in England, right? Yeah. And so they're like, this facility is unbelievable, And so from that moment on, I was like, okay, we might be onto something here. Just seeing like the natural responses. So as more countries and teams came through, I think we got more and more confident that we would host a team. We just didn't know what level of team. Yeah. And then you also think about other resources. So, I mean, you're over here a lot, but facilities for laundry, equipment. Part of the requirements is we have to have, I think, 30 track hurdles for the soccer team. Algeria has asked for that as a part of training. I don't know what they use them for. But we have hurdles at Rock Chalk Park, right? We didn't have to go find hurdles. We're like, yeah, they're right there. We have multiple training facilities, weight rooms, all of that. So I think having the resources of a community like Lawrence and a campus and an athletic department that hosts 16 sport programs, I think the light kind of went on with people. Like, this could be really cool.
It's been one of the things that living in the soccer community now, it got some people's attention that my friends that I work with that are from other parts of the country or parts of the world, that Kansas City was getting the World Cup. But when the news came out that all of these different national teams were actively choosing this area to base camp, that almost got their attention more. I got more text messages from guys going, what's going on in Kansas City? Right. Because it's one thing for FIFA to decide to put some games there. It's another thing for each of these countries to compete to get to stay there. And, it's when they ask me why did it happen, it's kind of a big answer, isn't it? Because there's a lot of different factors that come into play. Right. What do you think, in addition to the facilities you just talked about, makes this area so appealing.
One of the first things we heard was geographic location.
Yeah.
Algeria's got 2 matches here and 1 in San Francisco. It's a 3-hour flight. So if you're staying on the East Coast and you're playing in San Francisco, that's it's a long flight. And so I think once we started seeing the teams that were playing in Kansas City, that's usually the first designation. You want to be close to having as many home matches as you can. Comfort, drivability, all of your fans as well. But I think the central location was pretty key. And then I also think that kind of Midwestern, we're just going to figure it out. We like to say yes. And I think every time they brought something forward, it was like, sure, we'll figure that out. Algeria asked about having ping pong tables and pool tables at their hotel. Yeah, we'll figure it out. No, not sure whether we'll use ours or somewhere else, but the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that resonated with a lot of the countries coming here. Again, goes back to kind of, I think, our Midwestern roots and what we're about. And we'd like to think it's the soccer capital of America, right? In a lot of ways.
Right, yeah. I'm writing a book about that. I don't know if you've heard.
I have heard that. It's a shameless plug on the front end.
I'll talk your ear off about it. Just Travis might have been cornered by me at one point talking about it. But I will say this. One of the things that I put in the book, too, and this is a little bit of a pivot, but we wrote some things about, okay, if you're coming to visit because your national team's here, where do you want to go? What are the things you want to do? Well, how about the place where the game of basketball's original rules exist? What a pilgrimage that is for anybody from around the world, because basketball has become a global game now. And how many sports could trace it back to an inventor with one piece of paper?
100%. And you think about our Explore Lawrence team, right, of trying to bring people into Lawrence for this. We have an awesome story to tell. We do tours of Allen. We're doing tours of New Booth to see the original rules of basketball, the history. We have a great opportunity to tell our story, not only in athletics, but what does this mean for university recruitment of students? You know what I mean? It's huge. Like for people, they might, have fans come over like, wow, that's a really cool setup. I like the university, the look and feel, and just to see like what the after effects are going to be for our campus and community. That's pretty special.
How many, do you know off the top of your head how many different national teams you hosted through this process?
I think we had 7 total that came through. So that obviously the teams that are in Kansas City, because they all visited the region, and part of that is, hey, you want to go see all the sites. And then we had a few others outside of that group.
How much studying did you have to do on Algerian culture or these other countries, before they came here?
Not much before they came here, because we didn't get a ton of notice. There would be times where it was like, hey, they're going to be here in 3 days. A lot of them would fly over and start to do the tours, right? They might come to Kansas City or Dallas or St. Louis or other places.
And who's coming? Like, how many people are coming? Who are these people?
I think it ranged from, call it 4 to 6, and they're team liaisons, I would say. Like, we would call it like our director of football operations,
right?
Kind of roles.
Yeah, the person that wants to see the logistics of
where's
the hotel, how do we get to training, all that
transportation,
stuff.
Food, like how are we living every day? What are going to be the amenities that our team's going to need? So you see a lot of kind of that group, logistical groups, and then they would bring their technical trainers, I think, too, to kind of look at pitch, right, surface, training facilities, kind of understanding like what soccer needs are going to be. So those were kind of the same people, but they were probably 4 to 5 people on each of those trips.
You mentioned the mind space of a college town like Lawrence that is maybe a more international flavor, or at least interested, in places. How important is it from both sides, from Algeria's side and from the community of Lawrence's side, that this community embraces them? Embraces like, hey, this is our team. Let's welcome them here. Let's maybe support them a little bit. How big of a component is that to the success of this whole thing?
It's huge. We sit on every other Friday meetings with kind of our Lawrence leadership group, and we talk about that every week. There's different committees. We have a cultural committee. We have an events committee. We have a marketing sponsorship committee. So this is like all hands on deck. This isn't just, hey, we're going to host a team at Rock Chalk Park and we hope they have a good time while they're here. Like, very intentional. Like, how can we provide concierge service at their hotel when they're here? If they want to go book a foursome at, the Jayhawker Club or Lawrence Country Club or somewhere else, we can help with that. So we want to make sure that their time here is well spent. I think probably one of the biggest things I noticed is you'll probably hear this name, but Brahim is I call their soccer football operations with Algeria. So he came into town, did a tour of Rock Chalk Park, and then I picked him up. We brought him over to soccer training for a day to see our women's team in the indoor facility because I wanted to show him, hey, if you've got rain challenges or other things, we have these other facilities here on campus that you can have access to. Took him over to the conference center. Like, hey, if you guys wanted to get out of the hotel for a day, we could set up gaming stations and have the team just come hang out and, those kinds of things. But we went to dinner that night at 715, and Matt came over and talked to us, the owner, and he started talking about, well, in Muslim culture, we eat halal meat. It has to be blessed meat and all these things, and it kind of that moment hit me. Like, this is a whole different culture that we're not used to. Religion, what they eat, what are they interested in entertaining? We've heard like maybe they're not as interested in like apps on our phones. That's a cultural thing. So they use WhatsApp all the time. That's how Brahim and I, we text like 3 or 4 times a day, WhatsApp, because it translates. And I had this moment where I was like, okay, we got to be ready, right? And then Matt's like, well, we should start thinking about restaurants who serve halal meat. We could have some designation in the window so that their fans and people know that this is a trusted source for food. Those are things I didn't think about until 2.5 weeks ago. Muslim religion, like where are they going to practice religion and those things while they're here, and how do we kind of embed ourselves in the culture? And then, you and I are both big music guys, right? So I gotta make a reference to music. So I asked him, Brahim, at dinner, I'm like, so it's like Taylor Swift a big deal? You don't know in Algeria? And he's like, no, I mean, not really, we don't really do it. He said, the person we follow is Cheb Mami. So Cheb Mami, if you remember, is on a Sting song, Desert Rose.
Yeah.
At the beginning, you hear that kind of music. That's Cheb Mami. So he's like, that's kind of our culture and what we listen to. So now I'm listening to Cheb Mami on my playlist and, trying to understand like, hey, this is who they are. So I guess again, going back to like trying to embed ourselves in understanding who they are and how we can be great partners and great hosts.
Do you have any kind of sense as to like how many fans will come from Algeria? Have they given you a number? Do you even know how to guesstimate that?
Don't even know how to guesstimate. I will say this, and I think Pam Kramer with KC26 would be okay with me saying this, but she did tell me, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, that the country that visited the KC2026 site the most was Algeria, because they can track IP addresses.
Oh, like fans and people just looking up
and what's going on and all those things. So, and I think, they're not in the World Cup every year, right?
I think this is 2014. The first time. Yeah, it's the first time in a couple cycles they have.
Yeah, so this is a big deal for them. We've heard anecdotal stories that like, hey, this is our big trip and we're bringing the family and we want to go experience, what United States and Lawrence and all of those things bring. So that's pretty exciting to think that I will have a lot of interest.
And I guess, is it a positive that this happens in June when school's out? Maybe not as many people in town to give a little more space for everybody, or I don't know how that works.
I would say, I mean, again, I kind of live in my athletics bubble a lot, but I would say from a Lawrence perspective, if you think of restaurants and service industry and all those things, could be a huge lift, right? It's going to be feeling like your campus is ongoing in full mode for 3 more months.
Every day is going to be like a college football game day.
That's kind of a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
The other side of it is you got to think about service industry and staff. College students make up a lot of the workers around here. So if those students aren't here, or you got to make sure you have enough staff to come in. And so I know they're working on like, hey, could we staff some of the workers in dorms for students that they could still be here in Lawrence and maybe not have to pay the higher rents at apartments or things like that. And so those are little things. Wi-Fi bandwidth has been a discussion topic. Like if there's 40,000 extra people in Lawrence visiting, whether that's England fans coming from Kansas City for a day looking for something to do, like how's the city, think of security and police force and all of those things. To your point, like think of all the people that are on high alert on a game day for what could be 8 weeks straight.
Yeah, and when you bring up the other national teams that are all going to be in Kansas City, do you expect an influx of people that want to take tours of Allen Fieldhouse?
Absolutely. We got on the one of the keys for us was to get on the transit route for Kansas City, is to make sure that Lawrence was a part of that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, the busing.
Make it convenient. People can hop on and hop off, and to be able to do that. So we're certainly working on marketing initiatives for tours and to come see Allen Fieldhouse, spend a day in Lawrence. So our Explore Lawrence team is working hard on that. That's a big deal. And then selfishly, from an athletics perspective, we're playing at Wembley in the fall. So why would we not try and get some England fans over here to start experience the Jayhawk culture.
And that's
hey,
a great point.
You know, and how can we start to market our university of like, hey, we're going to be back here in September. So, you know, let us become your team, you know, those kinds of things. And we don't know what that looks like yet, but those are just ideas.
Hey, you know what? I think there's something to be said, though. I mean, the story that, and I'm plugging again, but that's the thing about the book that I like, you know, I really enjoyed like digging down into is, why should you care about this place if you're from somewhere else? And really the answers are plentiful and they're great. I mean, if you see the pictures of John Brown around when you come here and you want to learn about maybe a part of the Civil War that you're from another country you didn't know anything about, well, that's something I'm going to remember. What does that Jayhawk signify? And then the history of something like college basketball. There's all of a sudden, I think that's an easy sell to somebody. If I'm going to be a neutral and go to watch a game in London, well, I'm going to cheer for that team because they were, you know, they were this, this, and this.
Right.
I mean, I think.
And having Kansas Jayhawks and Kansas City, you know, those are all things. Proximity and the name maybe will resonate with some people. And
well, I'll tell you what, when I do games, all of the English people that I work with, whenever Sporting Kansas City plays, they just call it Sporting Kansas. It's the weirdest thing. And I always try to point out to them, Kansas City is a different place than Kansas.
Right.
And they're like, is it? And I'm like, there's actually a Kansas City that's not even in Kansas. And then it really blows their mind. There's
people that live in the United States that don't even know that.
So, but yeah, there's that, I think there's that identifier right there. But like, you know, like I think you and I, there's a lot of Americans that pick a European soccer team to cheer for.
Right.
And it might be based on, I went to Europe one time and I had some beers with some guys that were Liverpool fans, and that's why I'm a Liverpool fan now. If they come here and see it, they could be Jayhawk fans for life, and that's a pretty cool way to in Argentina, in England, you know, all that stuff.
Absolutely, and going to Wembley next year, right? That's the way we looked at that, as the extension for the university of how can we get international students coming back to KU. Obviously, for our brand, it's great, and for the football program. But there's so many, you know, halo effects of things that take shape here or in London that we're excited about. A lot of international flavor for Kansas athletics.
Little nugget as well for people out there: Wembley Stadium. If you're not you know, initiated in the subject, if you're a soccer fan anywhere in the world, you know Wembley Stadium. It's the big stadium in London. It's where the national team plays. It's where they play their FA Cup finals. It's if Oasis does a reunion tour, that's like the big venue. And it was designed by Populous, an architecture firm from Kansas City. So, you know, there's that tie-in too.
Is that in the book?
It's in the book. Many of the venues that are going to be used in this World Cup were designed by by architecture firms from Kansas City. A lot of architecture students who went to KU that are working at those architecture firms as well. Yeah. So let's spin this forward a little bit too, because I mentioned that your involvement with the soccer program here. Nate Lee's doing an incredible job. The program is I mean, you can see the progress just over the last 2 years already, and it was already a pretty good program before that. But you and I used to talk about, this is one of the few sports where you actually might have a built-in recruiting advantage with Kansas City and all the talent that comes out of there, and now the facilities and all these things that are happening. How do you think this affects Kansas soccer going forward, having this moment here?
It's a great opportunity, and as you said, Nate and staff have done a tremendous job. Sweet 16 appearance in their second season last year. And we felt like, again, going back to the soccer capital of the world, that we've kind of been maybe a little bit of a sleeping giant in women's soccer world.
Yes.
Recruiting, facilities amazing, awesome coach, that can go out and recruit nationally. I don't know if I can talk about this, so you may have to edit it, but it was posted that we had a top 5 recruiting class for 2027, and you can see the schools that are in there. And so we're building something really special here. I think what's exciting is I saw the KC 2026 video where Nate went and kind of toured Rock Chalk Park and the facilities, sort of a MTV Cribs style from your and I generation. And that was pretty cool to see on a bigger stage, right? Like, hey, look at these weight training facilities. We have everything here for you to be successful, so much so that a country picked our place to base camp at the World Cup. And by the way, when FIFA came and looked at this, they said that our pitch stood up against any English Premier League pitch that they had seen. Wow. So those things start to, you hope, have some resonation to to the group that may want to come here and participate. In addition to having a great university and we think a really supportive athletic department, we think it's a big deal for us to be able to host. Who knows if the next KU soccer player comes from England or Algeria or Argentina, and maybe they had some experience as a 10-year-old kid that came over to the World Cup and got to come and do that. You just never know.
Yeah.
And I think the recruiting, to your point, in Kansas City has been a big piece of that, but I think it just solidifies that this region is a hotbed for soccer.
Yeah. And look, I just think if people don't understand, you look at the numbers of people that watch the Super Bowl in this country and you think, wow, it can't get any bigger than that. If you take the numbers of a Premier League regular season match between two of the biggest clubs, it will be 5 times the global ratings that the Super Bowl gets. The World Cup, on
Another level.
I mean, and you're going to talk about, when the news reporters are doing their reports outside of training camp, they're going to be saying, here at Rock Chalk Park in Lawrence, Kansas, on their way in and out of reports and all those things. And same with Argentina, the Netherlands, England and Kansas City. It's really incredible stuff. So, congratulations, man. It's got to feel good. I mean, out of all the things, and by the way, I just got to think, like, you don't expect this to be part of your job when you get into college athletics, right? But this is what a fun experience this has to have been for you.
Yeah, it's been great. I think to combine a lot of different passions, showing off our university. I'm on the Lawrence Chamber of Commerce board as well. So what this means for our business in Lawrence, what it means for our soccer program, our athletic department, Kansas City, United States. I mean, let's take a 10,000-foot view here of like what it's going to mean for the country as well, and hopefully advancing soccer in a bigger way. Yeah, it's been really exciting. A lot of work going into it. It's kind of become the second job, so to speak, and making sure that that's moving forward with the other projects we have going here. And but yeah, certainly again a passion project, and very fortunate that I'll look back in my career someday with some photos with Brahim and Algeria.
Yes, I was going to say some relationships with people from other parts of the world
sure.
that maybe you'll stay in touch with forever now.
Learned a lot. He texts me almost every day. Hey, friend, how's it going? I need some help with this, and that'll be a cool memory that maybe not a lot of people in our profession get to be a part of.
So on that note, I did want to touch on some of the revenue stuff. That's a big part of your job, and it just becomes a bigger and bigger part of the job these days in the era of NIL and all those things. So what's the latest? Like, what are some of the things that you've been working on here? Because you're always trying to find different ways to raise that ceiling, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. The commercial NIL piece kind of falls under my umbrella. So we're in the trenches daily, hourly, finding creative ways to solve that puzzle, which I think we've done a really nice job of. If you look at the retention that we've had with football, the recruiting class we've had with basketball, both last year and what is looking like could be one of the best classes we've had here with Kansas basketball. So we know, I think resources have been there for our coaches to be able to activate on. Our partnership with Waltz Teatrick in Kansas City for content creation for our student athletes, for sourcing brand deals, professionalizing, what a true influencer marketing landscape looks like has been pretty cool. And then, obviously the booth, we're in phase 2 of the booth and opened phase 1 last year. And we were sold out of all 3,000 premium seats, obviously record revenues in that regard, but those are the things you have to do, right, in order to continue to compete and show people that we're serious about football at Kansas. Whether that means today or 3 years from now or 5 years from now, to make sure that we're in those discussions, that we are, we're serious about competing at a high level. And the revenues that it throws off. I think sometimes we get questions of like, maybe Travis addressed this too, like, do you wish you wouldn't have done the stadium and just focused on commercial NIL and finding, our pathway to put the best talent on the field? Well, the reality is in the revenue share world, you need both, right? And if we don't have a new stadium and new revenues and new premium seating and all the things that we've been able to drive, the amount of revenue that has grown in the football space is allowing us to support the rest of our programs. So that's a foundational piece. And then, phase 2 going into that, now we've got a hotel, student housing. We're working on a really cool team store concept that will be in the hotel, working through partnership opportunity there. how we're going to be able to host people in that plaza. The plaza is actually larger than the Power and Light District.
Oh, wow.
So think about that on the east side of the stadium, large video board. You've been on that stage a few times, I think.
A couple times, yep.
So think about that
Yeah.
in Lawrence on the east side of the football stadium and how we activate year-round watch parties, Saturday morning yoga classes for students. How are we impacting, the student life on campus differently? And so that's a pretty awesome project as a Jayhawk grad to look back on, hopefully when I bring my grandkids back someday to say, hey, we were a part of this. That was pretty cool.
Well, and the two big buildings, Memorial Stadium, the booth, and Allen Fieldhouse present some really interesting opportunities disguised as challenges, though, because, I would have been really disappointed had the stadium been knocked down and built somewhere,
Right.
Outside of town where you might have had cheap land and space, but that feeling of being on campus, that setting, to me, it's one of the best college settings for a college football stadium. So to get that done, it's a challenge and an opportunity. And that transitions to Allen Fieldhouse, where you got this place that is so revered, that has an atmosphere that can't be equaled anywhere else, but it also limits you from a premium seating standpoint, which is where everything in the sports architecture world has headed, right?
Yeah.
Every time I talk to owners that build a new stadium 10 years later, what's the biggest regret they have? Should have put more premium seating in, and you can't do that. And don't ever do that, by the way. I don't have to tell you that. But so you guys have to find other ways. And I think you've done some pretty incredible things with the spaces around Allen Fieldhouse to give people that are paying a premium price an experience maybe that at least gives them that premium seating. But how are you guys managing that? And you got anything else on the horizon coming that way?
Well, we just had, the $55 million renovation to Allen open last year. And so we, again, trying to find ways to monetize. We upgraded our hospitality spaces so we could get more people in to those spaces, renovate them so that they were on par with what you would maybe see at an NBA facility and what high level entertainment looks like for our best owners and corporate partners. So that was a priority, and that certainly has been great. We obviously instituted our per seat donation model of we spent, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of hours modeling it, looking at spreadsheets and trying to figure out with some of our partners of like, what are the trends in college athletics? What are the trends in pro sports? And how can we try and bring the best opportunities for us to try and monetize, our season ticket opportunities, but also understanding that we need to find ways for people to have entry points into Allen that aren't unmanageable. And those are hard things to balance, right? And so we have found ways for single game tickets to be pretty affordable over the holidays or things like that, where our fans can still really be a part of the action. But certainly when we play a Houston on Big Monday or in Arizona, those ticket prices and premiums are going to drive it because the market tells us that's what it's worth, right? And so,
and you need to capitalize on that so that you can keep your NIL going and all those things, right? I mean, that's part of the deal.
Correct. And so, you always have to find that balance of increasing prices or finding the right ways to do that. But we hope that we've also enhanced the experience. If you've been in the last 2 years, video boards, audio, updated concessions, all of the things that we're doing from a fan experience standpoint, we hope warrants some of those, increases that we've seen. And now, we'll be able to hopefully level some of those things out, that we've got a new facility and people are kind of accustomed to, hey, this is what my seat costs now with the donation and ticket component tied to it. So those are things we constantly analyze, but there's a lot of ideas out there. I have a 10-person networking group that are kind of my role in other schools that I really know and trust. So we're bouncing ideas off of each other and, hey, did that work or not work? So we're looking under every rock. And we just announced last week that we have a new Naismith Club that we're opening, a year-round dining club. That was one thing that as we're looking and analyzing ideas is how do we activate our facilities year-round? So
like not just on game day.
250 conference center events that feeds into our stadium and club areas, right? Mm-hmm. Hotel on the east side of the stadium, but then Allen, we have this awesome space and these cool hospitality spaces, and they came to us with this idea of make it a social club. And we're, I think, the 9th social club that OVG is running and managing across the country. It's Alabama, Arizona, Baylor, that kind of level of school. And we're excited about that because now we're bringing more people into our venue every day, giving them a really cool experience. And, oh, by the way, when you're entertaining people, you can go look at the original rules of basketball, national championship trophies, and you have this kind of cool environment for, which will be a really awesome experience for our membership. So that's launching. We're working, obviously, it's been widely known that jersey patches are a thing. So we've been actively out in the market with those kinds of opportunities so that we're ready to take advantage of those when they officially come online, which we believe is going to be this fall. That was approved from the NCAA, still working through some details. So court logos, that's been a thing, and field logos, and we got some feedback on that. But at the same time, going back to your earlier statement, I'd be more concerned if we weren't selling those things and providing resources to this place and our student athletes than if we didn't.
Yeah, it's malpractice if you're not doing everything you can to push that revenue right now, because that's how you get talent. That's how you stay competitive. It's a new world, and you're navigating it. Yeah. Besides that, you got anything going on?
There's a little bit,
Besides
right?
all this,
There's
you
a little bit.
You got a few things on your plate. So let's just add a World Cup on top of it.
Right.
Hey, Jason, thank you so much for the time and the insight, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to get to hang out with an old friend and share some stories and talk about our city, our region, and our university that we're both pretty passionate about.
No doubt about it. And also, by the way, if you didn't take anything else out of this, Jason Booker looking to get on a few more boards. Not enough boards that he's
Travis
part
would
of
say
yet.
maybe not. Let's keep you focused on athletics.
Chamber
right?
of Commerce, sports, the Sports Commission, all those things. Deputy Athletics Director Jason Booker has been our guest. We want to once again thank our sponsors, as always, the University of Kansas Health Systems and Xfinity, the nation's smartest Wi-Fi, only from Xfinity. Imagine that. We will see you next time on the Jayhawker Podcast.